俺は忍びだ。
What's up everybody, it's your boy Hokage here, welcome to the video. Now, I know that I'm very late when it comes to the review of the latest two episodes. I actually still haven't seen the latest episode. I will do so after I finish recording this review. So basically I have a lot of notes here so that I can, go through this as quickly as I can, because I'm pretty sure that everybody is interested in the review of the latest episode and I really want to watch that episode. Yeah, this episode was fantastic. It wasn't perfect. I'll get into the negative of this episode later on in this video near the end. Near the end of the review of this episode. But yeah, straight away this episode starts off with a great quote. Basically, Sarada and Boruto explain how there are many sides to a person when talking to Ku, because Ku was surprised that Mitsuki was hiding his true intent all this time, right? Yeah, pretty strong start to an episode, a very a deep quote, I guess. So yeah, and as Boruto and the others are fighting against Ku, at one point, Ku basically kind of quote unquote exposes Mitsuki for actually searching for something else, and Boruto wanted Mitsuki to say that this isn't correct, but Mitsuki couldn't really say it, because if you really think about it, it's not that Boruto was a horrible friend or anything like that, but it is true that he never asked Mitsuki anything, too personal, and at times it did seem like he didn't care. And obviously after some time, Mitsuki started to feel this, and he wanted to see if his emotions were fabricated, if the will that he has is actually his own will or not. I don't know if you guys noticed, but in this arc, Sarada saved Boruto's life so many times. I think in this episode, a rock was about to hit Boruto and then Sarada saved him. She did it 3 times in this arc. So yeah, not to mention that later on in the episode, she saved everybody. She was the MVP in this episode. Yeah, she did quite a few cool things throughout this arc. I loved the Sai Naruto scene. I think that Sai commented on Shikamaru never being so worked up, and then Naruto says the same thing about Sai. Sai was shaking, and later on we get the scene with, Boruto's academy friends, and Sai tells them that was ballsy of you because they confronted the Hokage, they wanted to go. And that little a moment when Naruto says they're lucky to have friends like you or something like that, I thought that was wonderful. Naruto's my favorite anime character, and whenever he's on screen you just feel his a warm heart, right? I just love this character, man. My favorite fictional character so far. So yeah, quickly, I want to mention the Mitsuki Sage Mode thing. Everybody is speculating how 50% of his Sage Mode is gone because of Urashiki. That's bullcrap. If you guys remember, during the Genin graduation exam, Mitsuki fought against Shino. Obviously, we didn't see it. It was kind of off-screened. But back then, he did a similar thing. He didn't go full Sage Mode. He just gathered some Senjutsu, and that's exactly what happened here. Now, obviously, this isn't a fact. I can't be, it's not confirmed by Mitsuki himself, but it's kind of more reasonable to assume that he just didn't go full Sage Mode instead of he can do it. When he did it in episode 39, he didn't really do it consciously, so maybe he doesn't know how to enter. I don't know. I think he did activate it against Urashiki, so he does know how to do it, but apparently he can't really control it properly or whatever. It can be harmful, to his body or whatever. I don't know. He didn't mention something like that in this episode, but yeah, I just think that he didn't enter full Sage Mode. And the others were around, so maybe he couldn't really do it. Seki, I've been saying this for many episode reviews. I'm just really enjoying his character. He contributed to the plot of this arc, not heavily, but still he was there, and I appreciate that. It makes the episode in which he was featured, it makes it super important. The fact that we spent some time with his character. Ohnoki's hatred was the main reason why Ku got this whole hatred thing, and that was basically something that Ku said in this episode. and that was one of the main reasons why Ohnoki later on in the episode admitted to his mistakes, which I thought was wonderful. The character development that he got in this episode was just amazing. Here in my notes, I have Sarada MVP. I already mentioned her, and how she saved Boruto in this episode, and then she saved everybody else. Yeah, I just loved the Tsuchikage flashback. We got a couple of them in this arc, but yeah, the entire question about one's will and the Stone of Will or whatever. I don't really remember the exact name, but I just it's fucking art. That whole sequence, and just the theme of one's will. That's one of the main themes of this arc. I'm just loving it. And you don't get arcs like these. You don't get arcs like this one too often. So yeah, I really appreciate this from the Boruto series. Yeah, although it was kind of obvious by now that Mitsuki realized that this is his own will, he legitimately said it in front of Boruto in this episode. And he even quoted Seikei, and he said that people are stronger when they have something to protect. I really loved that little moment between Boruto and Mitsuki. It just strengthens their friendship. Boruto gives the headband back to Mitsuki. Mitsuki says something really dumb. He says, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice myself. There are plenty of other Mitsukis out there." And I'm like, what the fuck? That was dumb. That was really dumb. Obviously, Boruto was not gonna be happy to hear that, and he just said that what's important is what you have here. And obviously, Mitsuki that we know is the only Mitsuki that Boruto will ever be so close with. Right. So, yeah, the final fight was great in my opinion. I loved the tactical aspect of it. I liked the animation, the soundtrack. I mean, the soundtracks were brilliant throughout this episode, especially during Ohnoki's final moments, if he did die indeed, because I'm not 100% sure, because the ending kind of confused me, but I'm gonna get into that. Ohnoki, when he says you're about to witness my final particle style, man, I was tearing up, right? That was super sad. The soundtrack, Ohnoki's facial expression, it was so beautiful. Definitely one of the best moments in all of Boruto. In case he actually died. If he actually stays alive, bullcrap, right? But if he actually died, that's one of the best moments in all of Boruto. And Boruto has 90-something episodes, so that really says a lot, obviously, in my opinion. So yeah, after that whole fight thing, he mentions one's will, how there are many sides to a will. Even if you lose it, you can get it back. You're gonna face many obstacles, many barriers. He pretty much says the same thing that the previous Tsuchikage told him. And you have this, emotional moment between him and Boruto, and Sarada's there as well. He even says that he wanted to eat more of, Konoha's dumplings or whatever. I just thought all of that was sad. But then it kind of cuts the scene, and we see the Kurotsuchi crying, but we never really saw Boruto's reaction to it. Now I get it. We might see a reaction in the next episode, but still, I just thought it was kind of strange. Now, there are two scenarios. One scenario, Ohnoki is dead, and I'm still gonna take away a point from this episode because I just didn't like the execution of his final moments. And B, Ohnoki actually stayed alive. Which, again, you can kind of justify it, but still, I think it would be kind of stupid. So either way, whatever the case is, I'm taking away 1 point from this episode because of that. At the end, we saw Konohamaru's character development. Just remember his reaction at the start of this arc when he realized that Mitsuki is Orochimaru's son. And now he hugs Mitsuki and says, "I'm glad you're back." So he's come a long way. And I appreciate that from Konohamaru. Many people were complaining about the fact that he didn't really do anything in terms of combat in this arc or whatever. I personally liked his role. I mean, I've learned to not expect anything major out of Konohamaru. I mean, both the anime and manga really gave me a lot of reasons to, never expect anything major. Anything major in terms of combat, I guess. But still, his role was important. He did talk with Mitsuki in the middle of this arc. It was emotional. It was emotional here at the end as well. he even said to Naruto that it was them who did everything, because Naruto assumed that, Konohamaru saved him or whatever. But yeah, now I think there's I think many of you will agree with me that this moment was super funny, if you guys remember. But at the end, when Mitsuki says, "I don't think I will be. I don't think I can go back to the village normally or whatever." First of all, that was hilarious because we had Sumire who fucking tried to kill the village, right? And she's still in it, right? But the worst thing is, and don't quote me on this one. I'm not 100% sure. I'm like 75% sure. But as soon as Mitsuki says that, and then Boruto replies to that, we hear Sumire's voice. That was so ironic. If it was Sumire's voice straight away, but I think it was. I thought that was hilarious. And we see all these friends of Boruto, Mitsuki, and Sarada coming at the end. A nice conclusion to the episode. This episode, if it wasn't for the strange Ohnoki death things at the end, like I would easily give it a 10, but this scene makes me give it 9. Whatever the case is, I don't know if he is alive or if he's dead. I'm assuming that he's dead, but yeah. So 9 out of 10 from me. I'm gonna watch the next episode and review it, and then I'm gonna put everything together and upload it to YouTube. Wow, the final episode of Boruto's longest arc is over, and some of our favorite characters have come a long way. Honestly, it feels like this arc started yesterday, but it's been like 20 episodes or something like that, which is just crazy. And I can't wait to do a separate video talking about this arc in general, just giving some of my thoughts, because I think that this arc is criminally underrated. And yeah, I just can't wait to talk about it, in the future. But yeah, it's over. The Naruto Shinden novel is going to be adapted in the next episode. I mean, in the next 3 episodes to be more precise. But yeah, I guess this will be the final review of the, Hidden Stone Village arc, Mitsuki Retrieval arc, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But yeah, this episode starts off with the opening, and after that we get a cool train scene, which I personally really enjoyed. I said this multiple times throughout this arc. I mean, throughout some of these reviews, I do think that Chocho is more likable. She became more likable in this arc, and that's mainly due to the fact that she did get some development. In the Chocho arc, obviously, that arc focused on her, and that arc happened before the Mitsuki arc. So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out, because, yeah, you guys know that in the past I had a couple of rants on Chocho, but yeah, I think her character is more likable now. I really like the fact that we saw Inojin thinking about Akun. You guys know that I really liked their relationship, and ever since Akun was introduced, I was predicting that something tragic might happen between them, and something tragic did happen. But yeah, Akun will be remembered. So just Akun's death is one of many details that prove how deep and how important this arc was to the entire story. I mean, one of the previous Kages just died, that's a huge thing. And in my previous Boruto review, I was kind of confused. I didn't know if Ohnoki survived or not, because like the ending of the episode was kind of confusing. But yeah, it's confirmed he did die. And we saw the funeral. We saw all the other Kage. Seki was there. I think he was crying. I mean, many other villagers were crying, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one who wants Seki to become the Tsuchikage at the end of the Boruto series, and I'm pretty sure that he will become one. And as Kurotsuchi, Naruto, and the other Kage are, I guess talking about how they're supposed to protect the youth or whatever, I sense tragedy in the air. I'm sure that in the future we're going to have more Otsutsuki attacks. If you guys read the manga, you know about those villains, right? They're probably, not probably, but they are going to be involved. So, a lot of bad things will happen in the future, and I just felt it in the air. Although the scene was done beautifully and there was nothing creepy about it, I got the chills and I felt tragedy in the air, as I said. So yeah, this episode was just full of beautiful moments, man. I mean, Boruto coming back, hugging Himawari, and then, Hinata. I thought that was great. But then an even better scene happens where we see Sakura and Sarada. Sakura is kind of trying to be mad at Sarada, but she couldn't really do it. And Sarada even started crying, and that just gives that scene. Like, it's because of the fact that Sarada cried that I think this scene was slightly more impactful. So yeah, it just shows how close, Sakura and Sarada are. And I mentioned this in my last episode review. Many characters progress so much in this arc, and this isn't really directly connected to this arc, but I just want to point out that you had Naruto Gaiden, where Sarada's and Sakura's relationship was kind of shaky, and then you have this. Man, some of these characters and their journeys, I'm just loving this series. But yeah. At one point in this episode, Naruto kind of praises Boruto and Sarada for what they did for their friend, because he fucking relates, right? He'd go rogue for Sasuke every day if he had to, right? So I just thought that was funny. And, even Kurotsuchi, she kind of references Naruto and Sasuke later on in this episode, when she mentions that they inherited Naruto's true ninja way. I thought that was funny. And in terms of dialogue, this is one of the strongest episodes, definitely, of this arc, although that's a huge statement, because this arc was more about what was said, so I might take that back. But in terms of like chill slice of life episodes, this episode had a great dialogue. And the dialogue scenes throughout the Boruto series are very good. The character interactions. I've been talking about this for months right now, so I'm not gonna get too deeply into that. But yeah, I liked how Boruto was super mature when he was talking to Naruto. At one point he says Dad, and then he corrects himself and he says Lord Seventh or whatever. Just shows how much he grew as the series went on. And speaking about growth. When Boruto and Sarada were talking, you could genuinely see that, they grew as kids or whatever. I mean, the experience that they had, not many people get it, at that age. And not many people get that type of experience at all. So, yeah. If you guys remember back when Team 7 was getting formed, Boruto and Sarada constantly had these arguments because Sarada is very logical and Boruto kind of relies on his own feeling. And you could see that contrast here as well. Obviously, they weren't fighting, but Sarada was trying to be super logical about the possibility of Mitsuki never coming back to the village. And then at one point, Boruto just interrupts her and he says everything will be fine. That little contrast between the two characters is it's something that not many people notice, but I appreciate that writing detail. I think it's literally it's so subtle, but it's genius. Yeah, and by the way, I loved the scenery during that scene. So yeah, Garaga is gone. It doesn't surprise me because we never really saw him in the manga. Yeah, it's sad, but his character arc was fine. He finally, it was great in my opinion. Actually, he finally met a human. And I mean, he finally met a human. He was finally able to trust another human, and that was just wonderful. Garaga is no longer with Boruto. I wonder if they're gonna meet again until the end of the Boruto series. I think they will, but who knows? I might be wrong. The funeral for the Akutas, Mitsuki did it. That was super respectful, and I really, really enjoyed that. I'm still sad for the fact that Mitsuki didn't cry when Seikei died, especially because many episodes ago, Seikei asked him, would you cry if I were to die or whatever? But I'm not going to talk about that detail from a couple of episodes ago. The point is, he made a mini funeral for all of them and said a couple of interesting sentences there. I thought that was brilliant. Again, the scenery. I mean, the scenery throughout this episode was just gorgeous. So yeah, and when he meets Boruto has this beautiful speech. He learned a lot from Ohnoki, about one's will, and he basically says, okay, the fact that you wanted to discover more about yourself, that's one part of your will, and he also wanted to save the village, so, will has many sides to it, and, man, this arc had so many great lessons, so many deep philosophical lessons, But yeah, the Orochimaru scene, I don't want to spoil it for the anime only, but if you read the manga, you probably know who did that right there. I mean, even if you read the manga, you can't know for sure because it wasn't specifically stated. But who else can it be, man? Like, who else can it be? Man, the future of this series is so promising. But yeah, obviously at the end, Kuratsuchi was the main reason why Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki became Genin again. I mean, this change was gonna be temporary anyway. But yeah, she just, I guess, sped up the entire process. But hands down, the best scene of this episode was when Boruto cried. You don't see Boruto like that too often, and the fact that he saw like a shining stone, it was so symbolic. And then all these flashbacks, all this time that he spent with Ohnoki, I just, obviously, I cried at that part. I just thought that, like, art. All right, art. Nothing else to describe this scene. Art. That's it. And Ohnoki, you will be remembered as well. This final episode of the Mitsuki retrieval arc, or whatever you want to call it, gets a 10 out of 10 from me. It was filled with beautifully written slice of life moments, and it's a great conclusion to a very good arc. And as I said earlier in this video, I can't wait to do a separate video talking about this arc. Anyway, that was your boy Hokage. Twitter, Discord, Instagram, and second channel links are in the description of this video. If you're new to this channel and if you're into the Boruto series, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.